Good morning. Today we are working on my 1988 Chevy R30 dump truck. We are going to be replacing the ignition switch. I'm in the middle of a project on this truck. I've been trying to replace the computer controlled distributor with an HEI distributor. I'm not going to get into too much detail. You can check out my other videos on that. Basically, a previous owner did a TBI to carb swap and they never replaced the computer controlled distributor. I have finally replaced the distributor with an HEI distributor, but I cannot get it started. And after doing some checking, I am not getting proper voltage to the HEI distributor. I think that's why the truck is not firing. I'll insert some video here showing where I tested the 12-volt wire supplying the power to the HEI distributor, and how when I start the engine, the voltage drops off. Okay, we're going to try this again. I've got my vice grips holding the negative lead. I've got the positive lead hooked up to the 12-volt wire coming from the fuse block. And you can see here, you can see my meter. First, I'm just going to turn the key to the on position. Okay, that looks good, 11.8 volts. I'm going to go try to start the truck and see what happens to that voltage. I was looking around online trying to figure out what could be the cause of the voltage dropping off, and I think maybe it's the ignition switch. I got this part at AutoZone. It was about $13.50, not too bad. So we're going to replace this today. We're going to get started here by taking off these panels up under the steering column. I need to unbolt the steering column and drop it down. There's two bolts, one up here, one on the other side. Something's going on with the bolts up under the column. I can't get them loose, so I'm going to go ahead and take off all this plastic here on the dash so I can look down on the top and see what's going on. That was pretty easy, I guess. Lucky me. Most of these screws were missing from the dash. I only had to take 3 off. But now I can see there's a bolt right there. And here's the other one on the right side. Man, that thing was on there. It's got white stuff on here. Is that thread locker? I've seen red and blue, but I've never seen white. The steering column will not come down, so I think I'm going to have to get under the hood and loosen up a couple of bolts down here up under the hood. I did not take these nuts completely off. I just loosened them a pretty good bit. I can tell the steering column has fallen down some inside because now this is at a weird angle. That looks much better. Now we have room to get in there, and that is my ignition switch right here. I've got to figure out how to unbolt it. There is not much room to work in here. I had to break out my tiny little wrenches, a 5/16. There is the old one. It had 2 plugs in it, so I just used my little screwdriver here to push the tabs down to release it. Trying to take this thing apart, I ran into some typical engineering issues. I don't understand why engineers, automakers, building engineers, road engineers, whatever, they always make things so complicated. I had a 5/16 bolt and then a 3/8 nut and then another 5/16 bolt nut thing. Why can't these 3 things just be the same size? 1 wrench or 1 socket. Why do they have to over-engineer everything and make it so complicated? I need to make more room. I just unplugged this big long plug here. It was plugged in right down here on this black thing. Just used a screwdriver to pry it off. Now I can move the wiring out of the way and get a little more room to put my switch in. When I move that plug around, this old dime fell out. Well, that's great. I'm assuming somebody had it wedged up in there a long time ago. Who knows when. This plug was probably loose, causing starting or running issues like I'm having now. So instead of them actually fixing the problem, they must have shoved a dime in there to tighten the plug or keep it from coming loose. We're going to go ahead and just put the switch back in here, but who knows, this plug may give us more problems. This rod here goes into this hole right here, and then this moves back and forth when you turn the key on. I guess that must switch the power on and off inside the switch. My mounting holes are lined up pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and bolt this thing back in, and then I will put my plugs back on it. I'm wondering, I don't know what this is. Maybe it's the turn signal. It's got a rod also. It's attached up here, I think. This thing right here, which I think might be my high-low beam switch, the rod it's attached to here, and you can see it there, it moves when I move the switch here. New switch is bolted in. Hopefully the high beam switch still works. It sounds like it's working. Now I need to plug everything up. Maybe I should have done this before I bolted it in. I got them plugged in. It took both hands. I couldn't hold the camera. I had to really fight them in there. But hopefully a tight connection is a good connection. I got this switch put back in the hole. This switch, I believe, is for my brake lights. It activates as you press the brake pedal. I don't take this dump truck on the road right now. This thing actually, it's pretty loose. I don't even know that it works. The brake lights work, but I don't like the way this thing is put in here, but that's another project for another day. And now we got to deal with this plug that had the dime in it. I'm just going to plug it together and hope for the best right now. I finally got that plug back together. It was a real struggle. It did not want to go all the way together and snap in. Now, that may be a source of a future problem. We'll have to see. I'm going to put the steering column back where it goes with the 2 nuts here. why that one nut was so hard to get on. I took it off the other side. It was really hard to get off. Now I have to tighten these two nuts out here. Now we're going to hook up our 12-volt wire to the distributor. The ignition switch has been replaced. I'm not going to test it on this video. I'm actually in the middle of another project I talked about earlier, trying to replace the HEI distributor. So I'm going to get back working on that thing, and then I will test this switch and test the power for my HEI distributor. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.